Ted Ecclestone, we know is not here yet. Same with Jim Gibbons. Colin Harding. Oh, I see him. I can't hear him.
He's on
Colin,
mute.
your audio's off.
Dana.
Here.
Janet.
No.
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Kim. Yes, I see her. Christelle.
Here.
Peter.
Here.
Kate. She's not here yet, I don't think.
No.
Tony is also not here yet. Dawn is here. Paul?
Here.
Here. And everybody else is staff.
Can you hear me now?
That's better, Colin. Okay, disclosure of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflicts of Interest Act. Anybody got any conflicts? None heard? That's sufficient, isn't it, Devlin? Okay. Approval of minutes. Everybody get a chance to take a look through the minutes. April 9th seems like about 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah. Subsequent, just there's other, I'll get to some other stuff here in a minute. So anybody got anything to change on the minutes of April 9th? Okay, I guess they're adopted. Approval of the agenda. I have a couple of items I'd like to add at the bottom. One is a Tier 3 water report from GRCA. I think you guys should know about. I spoke to Rotary. Actually, Neil and I spoke to Rotary on Tuesday, and we've got a couple of discussion items there. And there's, anyhow, that's enough right there. Okay, I see everybody approved the agenda, all right? Anybody got any other, anything else we should be talking about? All quiet. Okay, the action items, Economic Recovery Subcommittee plan. Okay, so everybody has a copy of the subcommittee plan. And it just so that the rest of you know, there was a subgroup of this group set up. Andy, Brett, Pat, Bob, Cameron, Dana, Kelly, Kim, and Crystal, Neil, Peter Moore, Paul Walker, and Steve Van Leeuwen, and myself. We have met each week, just so the rest of you know. There's a lot of you are here already. That's how this Economic Recovery Subcommittee Tactical Plan came along. Kelly had this thing set up, and it's really good. It gives us the different headings and who owns it and who's going to follow it along. So it's actually quite handy. There's lots of things have come up, and in each weekly meeting, there's new ones every time. Has anybody got any questions on any of the ones that are on the sheet here? There's a lot of people, of course, that are on the committee, so Bob, you've been on it. Colin, anything you can see there at all? Your speaker's off. Your mic's off, Colin.
Okay, yeah. Now can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. No, it's fine with me. I don't have any questions.
So some of the topics are, the closure of the roads in Laura, and they're looking at stuff in Fergus, and I think Pat is working on restaurants. We had some suggestions to maybe see if we can make restaurant spaces bigger, and maybe Pat, is anything going along on that at all?
I've only had actually one from the vault comments from the email that I sent out. And we actually have a BIA meeting tomorrow morning where we're going to discuss some options. We have recently found out about a possible patio solution that may work in downtown Fergus. So we'll be discussing that at the BIA tomorrow with the hope that we can get some of those deployed in downtown Fergus. It's a street product. It's a patio product that is an actual rental. And the gentleman who did it, who started the business, did it because Hamilton needed a solution. So he's deployed 25 of these street patios in Toronto, and Timmins has ordered 10, and St. Thomas has got 4, and Guelph is deploying some of them. So it would be an actual, a really great solution for downtown Fergus. So we're going to talk about those kind of things to assist the restaurants in tomorrow at our BIA meeting. And we'll, there's also options for those kind of rental patios to help to, in the future, animate and activate the downtowns on some of those things. In downtown Toronto, for example, on King Street, they have one of these patios. It's an actual shuffleboard. So people could, it's there for people to play whenever they are out and about. So we'll be discussing that tomorrow with the BIA.
Okay, that's with the Fergus BIA. Anything going at Laura at all?
With the restaurants, I don't know whether I or Andy or the mayor, I wasn't actually there on the weekend to see how things went. The restaurants are still looking to open. We have talked about a couple of them already had some patio opportunities. Box Social had some seats. The Hamilton Devil has some. We've talked to Friendly Society about possible patio there. The other ones are still determining how they want to operate when they reopen, which may be as late as June 30th now. So we're not really sure about that. Andy, I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, so we just did have to clarify with the restaurants. A few did feel that they were, by us opening the road, that they were able to open the restaurants and patios this past weekend. They don't have that authority from the province. We did check with the health unit. They still have to wait. So a number of them are putting plans in place. They will be temporary kind of patios on the weekend out on sidewalks at this stage for Alora. Most of them are pretty satisfied with that, as they don't feel right now they're going to need them, and we're going to wait and see how that rolls out over the next few weekends. Obviously last weekend, I know Kelly was down, I was down. Wasn't a great weekend for sitting outside. Still pretty cool. So hopefully this weekend's a little bit more seeing what we're going to see. But I think, as Pat said, they're just waiting to see when the province will open up. What we hope will be stage 2 for some of the restaurants to open up on patios.
And just to add to that, Don, if I could.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to ask you next.
Okay. And so one of the bottlenecks right now is with the AGCO, with the liquor licenses and stuff like that. Like, just because we're giving them the opportunity to spill out onto the street, they can't serve alcohol out there. So hopefully, I know a lot of other municipalities, and Oakville has put a pretty serious letter into the ministry to kind of stop that bottleneck and allow restaurants a little bit more of a streamlined opportunity to get a liquor license, because as anybody has gone through that process, it can take months. So that's a bottleneck right now. It's going to be a little bit hard for restaurants to only serve patrons who nobody in their party will be drinking, especially these days. It's hard to find those people.
There isn't anybody.
So that's one of the challenges right now. So hopefully the province can get that. I mean, Premier Ford's been pretty good and on the alcohol side of things, providing access and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully he gets involved, because that would really help with physical distancing to allow them to kind of spread their restaurant out. And with what Pat's been researching as far as the patios in a box sort of thing, with a rental program, I think she sent out all the information to folks. So that's something that hopefully we can move fairly quickly on that. and then really start to, when the restaurants are allowed to open, hopefully we will be good to go. Like what we don't want to see is that we have a lot of work that we have to do, so that when the province opens it up, we're not ready for it. So if we can do whatever we can to get ready, so that when the province opens up, like in a day or two, we're open. That would be in the best interest of our restaurants for sure. So, yeah, so it's going to take a bit of a partnership with the province.
Well, it's interesting. You can go to a restaurant, you can order a bottle of wine with your takeout, but you can't take it outside and sit on a seat.
Exactly. John, I was just going to add to Kelly's point. The Ontario Chamber of Commerce and a number of business associations have also written an open letter to the province AGCO in regards to that bottleneck. So there is a lot of lobbying happening, and hopefully we'll see some results in that regard. And then I just heard this morning that John Tory has opened up Toronto for food trucks and ice cream trucks. So that's a start.
It's our food trucks and chip stands and all that kind of stuff have luckily been operating for several weeks already. So we've been ahead of the curve on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
The only thing that bothers me about that is it's not like they've got a lot of hand washing stations at the food trucks or a lot of extra sanitation that most restaurants and other businesses are going to have. So,
yeah, it's interesting the sequence of things coming out. It's mind-boggling at some points. Anyhow, maybe just go down this economic recovery, just so that anybody else that's not on the committee, the signage and stuff. Neil, you were saying there's signage coming for Elora for directing people in parking and that? Neil?
Yeah, I'm just unmuting there. We talked about that at one of the meetings, right? That because we're closing the downtown cores, we have to have signage. I got a few phone calls. Don and I spoke at the Rotary, and we got complaints about the first weekend in Elora where nobody knew where to go. And nobody knew where to park, and so there was a lot of confusion and traffic jams. And I knew we had talked about it. I just told them that signage is coming. So I'm wondering if there's somebody can update us on when we can expect to see at least directions on where to park.
Anybody, Andy or?
Yeah, so we do have the signs getting up and ready. And as far as directing to parking, we do have that map that we've got a couple large entrance signs that will have the map and the detours and the parking areas, as well as where the parks are and the washrooms are. So those should be, I suspect, hopefully will be up for this weekend's closure. Last weekend, we just weren't able to get the signs turned around quick enough.
Okay. All right, the next thing on the list was washrooms and that. Is that sort of coming under control now, the public washrooms?
Yep, so public washrooms in downtown Elora, Bissell Park is open, and it's pretty much open through the week and this weekend. The signage, we're working on the renovations at the tourism office, so we hope to have them open shortly. They're a little bit more complicated just because of the number of stalls that are in them, and also trying to make renovations to open up the tourism office when we can. So that's working on, and in downtown Fergus, we're working on getting the waste scale building. I don't know the timing on that. I don't know if you've heard, Pat, but I know the staff are still trying to get that one up and running.
I understand that they were able to get somebody to come in, I believe this coming week, the next week, to do some of the alterations that need to happen in the washrooms to make those, to meet health and safety standards. And we have been letting one of the local businesses use the space as storage, not in the washrooms, but in the other part of the building. And we'll be probably terminating that by next week as well.
So we can, because we have our office there, so we can imagine what, maybe July 1st kind of thing, Pat?
I think that the building will be open and will be, I mean, your office is available for use now if you wanted to use it, but I don't know what safety precautions you wanted to take in there.
Yeah, that's what I have to know. Like, for sure the washrooms have to be done, and then I'd have to go take a look at it to see what's...
So it would be probably at least another week or two before you could do that. So we should probably talk about that.
Okay,
But if there's anything else you need,
yeah. Well, the advisors are still online, so it's working okay. Yeah.
Good, things are coming along. Next item we had with the committee was, I'd like to make sure we don't miss, is we had talked about municipality putting up some sanitizing stations on the main street. So Neil and I spoke to the Rotary Club on Tuesday, and it was, 45 minutes, I guess, Neil, and they were very interested. So we were trying to disseminate some of the information out more into the public so that stuff spreads around. There, a couple things is there was quite a bit of conversation around what I had brought up at the last meeting is people's perception of what's inside the door of business. And for those that weren't at the meeting, everybody's scared, and the idea is to make sure all the businesses have a sign out front that there's a sanitizing station inside, so that if they touch the door, they know there's going to be somewhere to wash their hands inside. Because we're all paranoid about going anywhere. Just go into a shop. I was in a shop yesterday, and the staff would just open like within the hour, and they were just like out of their minds. So somehow we've got to get by that, and some kind of thing at the front door, in the window, whatever, just to say that this business has addressed the COVID and distancing issues. And we had talked about getting sanitized. Did that ever go anywhere at all, Pat? Do you know?
I understand that our purchasing staff did attempt to source hand sanitizer stations that were sort of indestructible, I guess, or anti-vandal. You couldn't vandalize, and have not been able to find any at this point. And I don't know whether we currently have the resources to be able to, put stations out and then take them in every night. And so that is still under research, I believe.
Yeah, Pat, just to add to that, I think Sandy did find a couple, but what they wanted for them were really unreasonable pricing. So it's a matter of just balancing that off and seeing what we can find.
So just a thought, is there something that maybe one of the businesses could have that they would set out in the morning when they open and set it away at night? Maybe, just so we don't need a waterproof, bulletproof type of station. Just a thought to try to get something that people can get at easy. Anyhow, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, no, that's a good option, Don, and I think that's something maybe our team can talk with the BIA tomorrow about.
Yeah, just if somebody could just take ownership of it and put it out in the morning and put it away at night, and then you don't get into having to be weatherproof and all that sort of stuff for people in the middle of the night. Okay.
Go on.
Hello.
Kelly here, sorry.
There's a lot of places to look on the screen.
I know. It's tough to share. If I could just add, though, one of the things that you mentioned, though, and that kind of resonates with me, is that even if we have hand washing or sanitizing stations outside of stores, people still want them in the store. So how much time should we be spending on outside ones if we really should be focusing on how to make sure that we help businesses source these so that they can have them in their stores? Because if it's not going to do the trick, then let's just focus where we need the attention, and that is to make sure that these stations are in stores. And can the township play a role in helping that? Because I don't want us to waste time, doing something, and people are just going to have to sanitize when they go in the store anyway. And that's the whole reason why we want to do it, is for the store, not for people walking around.
Yeah, so that comes back to my previous comment, is the stores need to have a sign outside that there is a station inside that, that people can see. Oh, I know I can walk in there and I can sanitize my hands. And I think that that is part of getting people to come through the front door.
So there's the two things then. One is the sign, and one is the actual station inside. Do we know
Yep.
if stores one can afford to put stations there, and two are doing it so that they're ready? And can we play a role there if they're not?
Right. Okay, so there's one more piece to this. Neil will nod. One of the, John Wheatley came up with the idea. Okay, so they've got the station there, but a lot of people want to have people in their store with a mask. So you can have the sanitary station there that they can wash their hands. Do we need to take a part in making sure everybody's got a supply of masks so that when people come through the door, they can mask up if they don't show up with a mask? Kim, yes.
I'm just saying on experience with all the stores in downtown Fergus and then what I saw in downtown Elora on Sunday. Most of us already have hand sanitizer available at the door. Most of us already have signs on our door. And if people are wanting, or if you can't keep the 6 feet of social distance, there's also signs on the door saying that you must wear a mask in this store. Like a lot of this has already taken place, like on the businesses that have opened have already done this.
But would the business have masks available for the people that want to come in if they don't happen to have one?
Yep.
Do they?
I know I have like some in my drawer if they want them, and Broderick's is offering them. Deb is offering them. Like a lot of places already have this.
Okay. We do too.
So what the Rotary Club was suggesting and we're offering to do, and Andy, I'll get them to contact you so they can piggyback on the township's purchasing power, or maybe Peter. The Rotarians were offering to buy masks in volume and hand them out to the stores so that it took the cost off of the individual business owners. So they would buy a bulk purchase of masks and give each store a box of 50 or 100 or whatever, and then replenish them as needed. The other idea they also kicked around was Rotarians acting as ambassadors in the downtown cores and handing out masks. And at that point, when we talked about sanitation stations or hand sanitizer stations along the main street, they could point out to people where they were. And just a friendly, hey, thanks for being here. Thanks for shopping local. And remember to socially distance. You've got hand washing stations here. Anybody need a mask? So that was their idea in a way that they could contribute and help. So I'll just throw that out for the group.
Yes, just a little bit more on that is they actually said they would get a hold of the Lions Club and the Kinsmen to see if they can get a certain number of people to show up in each town each of the days, especially on the weekends, to do that. And I thought that was great. If you could.
Yeah, that sounds like great stuff, and we'd be happy if we knew, just let us know how much we can look at, and then we can get those bulk orders and then distribute them to the BIAs for sure, and then have the BIAs distributing to the businesses would be great.
Okay, so who would I have them contact, Andy?
Well, if they just email me, I guess what we're looking,
Okay.
we'd have to know how much money are the clubs donating, and then we just do a bulk order with that money and look for the check coming from, like, the simplest way is that we just got the check and then we deposit the check and then we purchase the product and get it out to the BIAs.
Okay.
Good. That's a good thing. Somebody drives from Toronto to go to Fergus or Laura, they get here and they don't have a mask. They're not always readily available. Yes, Janet.
I'm going to put my healthcare hat on for just a moment from the hand hygiene perspective. So from an infection control and prevention, so IPAC, which is what healthcare organizations use from a hand hygiene perspective. The hand hygiene stations outside of the stores is really for the person grabbing that doorknob and leaving the store. So the hand sanitizer in the store is great, but then they touch the knob and they get out and then they want to hand hygiene again. So I agree, I don't think that having hand hygiene stations outside of the stores is really necessary, but we may want to encourage some of our businesses to, if possible, keep their doors partially propped open or some way that they can exit the store without having to touch a doorknob. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, we're doing that here. Actually, propping the door open, just, not sure how well that's gonna work in air conditioning season, but.
Lots of enterprising people out there have devised ways of using, of putting devices on the doors that are non-mechanical or any of those things, very low cost, that you just use to push with your foot to push the doors open, which may be a solution to, you know, a lot of this if people would just add those to the base of their doors.
Okay, any more on that item? Anybody got anything else? So the next one is financial assistance, and Kelly, you can report on what the county did, but actually, would you mind explaining the financial stuff, because you're the one involved in most of it.
Did you say you wanted me to do that?
Yeah, could you? Just it's you're sort of at county end here, so it sort of would tie the two together.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, Don. So the county's Keep Well Emergency Sustainability Fund was really well received. At the end of the day, over $970,000 went into the hands of businesses across the county, supporting 311 jobs, which is really, really good at a time when cash flow was so critical to a lot of businesses. So that's kind of suited the purpose of that fund, and now businesses are really getting into more longer term funding arrangements that have come down from the federal government primarily, and other groups. So that did the trick. So that's good. So what we talked about here, and where I wanted the discussion here, is for the township to kind of follow the same kind of type of solution, but maybe move it towards providing grants to businesses related to promotion and marketing. Because we know that one of the challenges for our local businesses is to have the cash flow in order to do the things that they need to do to market that they're reopened, market that they're now online, market and promote a number of different things. We also felt like loans weren't the way to go. So that's not my preferred approach. I think that we should move into grants with a potential loan portion added to it, but what I've been hearing is small businesses don't want to go into any more debt, but they do need help to make sure that they're doing that promotion and marketing that they need to do. So the thought here was that we follow a similar process. We partner with the Community Futures again to kind of use the same process, the same criteria based on what comes out of this group here. To allow up to $3,000 for marketing promotion, mostly in grants. So that's kind of what we thought we could add value to do, and we were kind of toying with the thought of about $50,000 of township money to go towards this. So that's kind of where we thought the need was right now, and I like the thoughts of this group on that approach. I know that in the strategic plan, council preferred that we move to loans rather than grants. So that's going to be a little bit of a barrier, but nobody anticipated COVID when we established that strategic plan and when we had the discussion about moving to loans rather than grants. So I think it's different times right now, and I think we could have the support to push for a granting process. And it worked really, really well using the Community Futures, and we'd like to kind of move ahead with a similar kind of program. So I'd like people's thoughts on that. Well, first of all, Andy and Pat, if there's anything that you guys that I missed that you guys want to add, feel free.
Yeah, just quickly, the only thing we've tweaked a little bit since our last meeting is we did put in possibly, just because it's come up with regards to the loan or the grant for some of the downtown businesses that they wanted to look at those patio purchases from the company. Just thinking that would be, right now that company's offering about within the route, the grant money, and then the business owner would have to also then rent the tables and chairs. So we thought that might be another option for businesses specifically in the downtown area.
Mm-hmm.
I did distribute the sort of criteria that we would use or that the CFD would then apply for use with this program. And I did indicate it was a grant loan program because that decision hasn't been made on what it's going to be just yet. And they did indicate at that during my discussions with them that they would be interested in providing top up of funds. They do have funds available from the federal government and the regular program, and they have indicated that we had talked about as part of the criteria that the business, that we would give up to $3,000, but the business would have to put in another 50%, so another $1,500, just so that they had some skin in the game, is what we were talking about. And the CFDC has indicated that if the business is unable to do that, they would be able to provide a $1,500 no interest loan on that to cover that, which is fantastic, which is a great partnership with the CFDC and the use of their funding. So they also agreed with us that businesses are, especially small businesses right at the moment, are getting pretty tapped out when it comes to being able to accept any more debt.
Yes, Bob?
Kelly, you wanted feedback on the program. I think it goes back to one of our earlier meetings where this is the last thing people are going to have money for is advertising to kickstart their business. So I think it's absolutely consistent. So I think it's a great program. The only thing I wonder about is how do we make 50,000 look like 150? Because if we break it into 3,000 grants, it means we can help 16 or 17 businesses. I'm wondering if a portion of it could be leveraged for group advertising, where people could tag onto their websites. So, for example, if we had $20,000 worth of advertising with the Grand Radio, and they threw in $20,000 worth of free money, and there was a consistent message for, say, Fergus BIA businesses, and then each one had a specific tag at the very end for one of the businesses. I'm just trying to think of how do we leverage and make it go further.
I have a comment. Is the scope doing advertising, is that maybe the total scope? Or could you have something go to, like a restaurant has to rent chairs and stuff for outside? Maybe their chairs are not suitable for outside.
In the funding, in the granting criteria that I sent to everyone, I did indicate that they were to put a funding proposal in, and I didn't limit it just entirely to marketing, but I don't think that we want the purpose of the fund to be like to go to their rent or something like that. We want it to be sort of over and above that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking, is like somebody had to rent a bunch of chairs and tables, that sort of stuff that is not a normal expense for them. Right,
and these patio concept, I haven't sent the link to all of you. I did send it to the BIA, but I will send it out so you can take a look at what it is that I'm talking about. But yeah, I did sort of put that criteria in because my guess is that's one of the things that the restaurants are going to need to do, is to increase that capacity. So for them, that's a good option. But for the others, it might strictly be advertising.
Yes, Dana?
Yeah, just to that point, I think a lot of businesses are going to incur additional costs to retrofit and just change their business space to accommodate physical distancing requirements and health and safety precautions. So I'm not sure, I know we had talked about potentially having, looking at private funding for PPE funds for retrofitting workplaces, and perhaps this could also work in that regard. Not just for patio space, but for any type of retrofit required.
Okay. Crystal, yes.
Yeah. Can you just clarify where the money is coming from again? Is it municipal or township and federal funding?
No, it's so the municipality can't give anybody any money. So that's why it's going through the
No, but I appreciate where is the money coming from? Is it federally then?
No, this is all township funding.
It is
Township
township funding.
strictly coming from the tax base. We're looking at funding it out of our current operating and capital projects. So it would be $50,000. I do think we were trying to keep it fairly scoped and not opening it too much, kind of to Bob's point that, you know, if we start doing it, there are other programs for some of these other things that we've been talking about, but not really for the marketing piece. And so if we open it up, it can be PPE or renovating your store or whatever, we're duplicating some of those other programs that are being offered by the federal and provincial. And then we talked about the digital Main Street, things of that nature.
That's
So
where
I
I'm going.
think we were trying to
That's where I'm
keep it
going.
fairly focused on the marketing piece as well as maybe looking at the tables and chairs since that's new. And then, you know, to Bob's point, so we do have other marketing in Pat's budget dollars that we're not using for this, that we will be continuing to support the Shop Local program. So that will include looking at things on the radio and the media and things of that nature, as well as, you know, the decals and magnets and all those type of things. So this was strictly just one section of a bucket to say, this we'd like to provide to business owners in order to support them in a small way that the township could help. There are other opportunities for some of those other components. I think it will be a little bit harder to sell to council personally, and I'll look to Councillor Dunsmore and Neil on this, if we just make it that it's, you know, this, or this. I think we want to keep it relatively focused on things that aren't being able to be provided by other forms of renting.
I would agree.
Okay.
The reason where I was going, sorry, Don, can I just say
Yep,
something?
go ahead.
The reason I was asking where it's coming from is because we have our starter company monies, which I've talked about. So we've got the money now. It's in our bank accounts. We can go ahead with the program, and that's provincial money. So some of these companies who could then potentially leverage the same money, right? So if Senator Wellington is giving out money, then some of our participants could actually get provincial money too, because it's not double dipping. That's why I was asking. Right? Same with Digital Main Street. We're working on trying to get the pilot for Digital Main Street again, and that's federal funding this time. We're moving it to Fed money. So again, we could leverage. So now all of a sudden, instead of 3,000, now they've got 5,000 or 6,000. You can do a whole lot more with that. So that's why I was asking. So thank you.
As well as the CFTC willing to throw some funding in there as well.
Yeah.
So
that's federal money. So that's why I was curious. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I guess is it kind of unanimous? We just leave it for marketing now? I mean, it's good to have these discussions, but we should try to give Kelly and Andy the focus, I guess.
So, sorry, Don, that leads back to the criteria. If there's any discussion on what the criteria that I sent you all yesterday, any questions, comments, whatever on that. And I would still urge that for the restaurants, because they have been open and marketing, et cetera, throughout this whole thing for pickup and takeout, I think the capacity issue is going to be the issue for them. And I would like to continue to keep the patio issue for the restaurants in the possible funding program. So
that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it is an extra expense that maybe not covered elsewhere. So, and I think it's all in the application form that they have, you know, and I guess the judgment of Waterloo Wellington guys and yourself to approve this stuff. So.
Well, the CFTC, I mean, this is what they do. They have a lot of expertise in providing these kind of smaller and micro loans to our local businesses. So they were, you know, very comfortable and were very willing to take on the effort to roll this out for us.
Yes, Kelly.
So just to be clear though, because they're very good at what they do, but they need precise criteria. So we're saying promotion marketing / those kits for restaurants, and that's it. Because what I don't want to happen then is, I don't need a kit. I just need 2 tables. I want this to go towards 2 tables and chairs. So I want to make sure that we're okay here with providing very precise criteria to the community futures. I'm good with that. Promotion marketing and those patio kits, and that's it. Because I do think we have to provide them with real clear criteria. Then they can just cycle things through, and that's what they're good at. But we got to set the criteria. Is everybody okay with
Yep.
that?
Yep, I'm okay with that.
Okay. The only other thing is getting back to Bob's comment about trying to leverage this for more money. I don't know how that fits into our process. We're pretty set up right now to do this with Community Futures. I don't. Can we somehow get any other organizations that have funds or want to help somehow to connect directly with Rick Whitaker at Community Futures so that we can leverage as much money as possible? Because that's also what they're very good at, is making sure that they understand what other organizations can partner to maximize money and get more money for businesses. So can we provide direction to somehow get organizations who want to contribute? They've already said they want to contribute more futures. Can we get them kind of an on-ramp into this process somehow?
Well, I think, do we need to do a Zoom with them just to make sure we get the scope right? Would that help?
Well, potentially, but I think that, if we know of other organizations who want to piggyback on this, basically what we have to do is just make the connection between Rick Whitaker and that organization so
Sure.
he's aware that they want to piggyback. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, so it's something, for example, that if you explained the program and said the municipality is putting up 50,000, maybe the Rotary Club or the Lions Club wants to get behind it because it is supporting local business and put some dollars up too.
Yeah, with that criteria, once we've agreed on the criteria, I will share it with the Center Wellington Community Foundation, because as I have mentioned at our subcommittee meeting, they've reached out to me, letting me know they've got $75,000 from federal government, and they're looking to either earmark all or some of it for businesses, and we're looking for ways to do that. So we've had initial discussions on a marketing fund, and that would be perfect. So I can share that criteria.
That would be perfect if they jumped on with this, especially with Rick handling it all. It deals with rolling it out, and coordinating it.
There might be different, the foundation may have different desires. They may be a good option for not-for-profits and social enterprise organizations that are having difficulty as well and
Right.
get that funding. So the CFDC also has their Regional Recovery and Relief Fund that they are distributing. It's open for applications now, and I believe all the money has to be spent by the middle of June. So if you do know of a business that is interested in getting some of that money, they need to be talking to the CFDC right now about that.
Okay, so Kelly, you okay with what?
The only question I have is because I don't want us to halt what we want to do here until we get some of these relationships figured out. I want to move ahead with it. So maybe we just have to give this group has to give the subcommittee the authority to move ahead with any kind of relationships that seem to be in keeping with the mandate of what we're trying to do here. So as long as this group gives that subcommittee authority to do it, we don't have to call this group to meet again.
Can I make a motion on that?
I think that's the cleanest way to do it, yeah.
Yep. So everybody in favor? Anybody opposed? Good. There you go, Kelly.
We might just want to, for Devlin's sake of taking the minutes, outline exactly what that motion is.
That's just carte blanche.
Yeah.
Do whatever we want.
Don said go.
Go. Let's go. Tomorrow's fine.
That'll
Yeah,
feed into
basically
the
to let-
conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Devlin, do you need anything
Well,
more?
I'm glad I'm not on council.
I'll
Devlin, do you
take
need
sure that
anything more?
Neil's the one that has to explain that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Devlin, just for the record, that was moved by Don Valerie, seconded by Bob Cameron, and was a unanimous vote.
Can you just give me the motion one more time to make sure I have it all totally completed here?
That this committee give the subcommittee authority to execute the agreements with the CFDC.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, Kelly? I didn't realize there was one of those on the, on the screen.
Be careful which finger you put up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for another one here next time.
There's a pro and a con.
Okay, marketing support we've got, and so the next thing is shop local for those who aren't on the committee. Peter came up with some logos for, maybe Peter, can you put that up, the one we chose, if you could? Shop local, and we discussed, he gave us several different options, and we picked one of them, and Pat has been working with the county, and I think we have permission to put signs up on the trestle between Fergus and Laura, and put signs on each side. I don't know whether Peter's going to have it or not.
I didn't have a logo, I don't think, Don.
No, sorry, Don, it was, the township, had worked with our graphic artist that we deal with, and he
Oh, is that
developed,
where it came from? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
developed
Sorry, dude.
a support logo.
Anyhow,
I was worried there, Don.
Yeah.
I just,
Anyhow, it just says shop local,
it says
and it's
support
going to
logo.
be, it's sort of, there's support local, sorry. It almost looks like a rainbow, but it's not. And it says shop local, or support local, and then down across the bottom, center Wellington. So there'll be one facing each way. So every time you go back and forth between Fergus and Laura, you'll see this great big sign. The one thing that did come up, and if we have permission to put the sign up, is, at some point, hopefully we get rid of this virus and we don't need that sign any longer. Not that it's not a bad sign, but if the framework that is set out, this particular forum could be used for Riverfest, like all kinds of other stuff, Highland Games, you take one out, put another one in, sort of thing. So it might be a great thing moving forward if we get a proper frame that can be switched out. Any comment?
I don't know if anybody else, I got a call from Dave Adset, who owns the sign company, right? And he did look into the wrap for the Trestle Bridge, and the township, somebody, Pat, I don't know if you called them too, suggesting,
Yeah, I've met with Aaron at Keltec.
yeah, okay.
We met at the Trestle Bridge to take a look at it. It isn't the easiest bridge to access or
Yep.
to attach something to. So they are currently working with their installer to determine a possible way that we could do that in a way that is functional into the future, that is
Yeah.
that's more than just temporary. So Aaron and I have been communicating back and forth with various ideas, and as I said, their installer is coming back with a plan.
Okay, well, I'll give you his first comment on it. It says on the Trestle Bridge, we have
I'm more involved in the policy side of, now that we've identified the risk and the areas called the WPQ, then what are the policies that we have to put in place to protect the municipal water supply? Fortunately, the kind of users that do take a lot of water are relatively rare. And for our official plan, the land in the urban area gets service with municipal water for the most part. And smaller users, a small industry that just has employee washrooms, they don't need permits to take water. So those are not the kind of users we're looking at. It's the bigger ones that are taking permits from MOE because it's more than 50,000 liters a day.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I just wanted to bring it up. It is a sort of a key thing for planning going forward, so that the rest of the group know that stuff's there. The full report would be on the GRCA website, I guess, would it? If somebody didn't have anything to do for a week.
We can get a copy and send it out. I'm sure it's already, if not, will be on our website as well. Brett, do you know if it's already posted on what we provided? Because I do know it was in the council report as well as on the agenda. So that would all be on the May 27th or 25th council agenda if people wanted to go there, but we could provide it to those that would like to have it.
Yeah, I mean, but I think Don's right. All the local source water related documents are on GRCA has a special website for that's sourcewater.ca, and all the assessment reports and the current status of the source water protection plan is all there for all of Wellington County.
Yeah. Anyhow, it's really good information, and I just wanted to bring everybody up to date. Take a look. If people want more information, I think we could probably get them to them. And some of the stuff might not be up for a few days yet because it is pretty current. Yeah. So, Jim, can you hear me? Jim Gibbons?
I think his mute button is.
Your mute button is on, Jim.
Whoever has control of the meeting can unmute him for him.
Devlin, can you unmute him? No.
What is it? Control Alt?
Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot unmute him.
That's too bad. Okay, has anybody got anything else? Oh,
there he is.
There he is. Hi, Jim.
All right. I found the button. I found the right button. I can hear you.
Yeah. Just a question. We were trying to get you a little earlier. The economic recovery document that we had there, do you have any other comments or suggestions that we could add in here at all?
Well, I think one of the things that I'd like to see Rotary do is, with what's going on in the world today, is that I think Rotary should kind of come up with a program to make people feel welcome in our community.
Yeah.
We want to diversify, and I'd like to see a program where new people coming to town are made welcome and are invited to participate in our community, because I feel that the problem that we're seeing across the border today is
We lost him.
Welcome to rural internet.
Yeah, I know.
I think that would something I'm going to push through Rotary. But I also would like to say to, I think Center Wellington and Wellington County has done a tremendous job on the on this problem we're having with the virus. And it's so great to hear that our nursing homes in this area here especially are all pretty well free of the virus. And I think it's been well handled. And I'd like to congratulate the mayor and council on the job that they've done so far.
I echo that. Peter?
Yeah, we didn't get everything from Jim there, but one other thing that came up that might play into that is I believe that Welcome Wagon in Center Wellington has closed. And they are, if anybody doesn't know Welcome Wagon, they welcome people into the community. And maybe that is a really neat opportunity, Jim, for our local community group to take on.
Yeah, Peter, to that point, what Welcome Wagon Canada-wide has closed. So that would be a great opportunity for others to take on that ambassador role.
Does anybody know who was involved with it here?
Helen Marlucci used to be, and I can't remember the person that took over.
Yeah, she was brand new. Her name was Christy, and she just came on board late, I don't know, December maybe, January. It was very, very new. But yeah, the announcement was made. Welcome Wagon is winding up right across Canada.
So Pat, do you know her? I'm just thinking of if we know somebody that was involved with that would be a good resource to help get something else going. I mean, they had all the processes and stuff to, catch the names and anyhow.
Do you want me to reach out to Helen?
Yeah, that'd be great, Peter.
She was the one that ran it for I don't know how many years. She's retired now, but
Yeah, we have the current contact information we can share for sure.
That'd be good. So
Okay.
maybe if we put that together, we can
Follow
get
that
that
up.
for Jim.
Yeah.
Get that for Jim or Neil to take to Rotary, and maybe they worked with Lions or some of the other clubs to get together and see if they can make that happen again. Because I agree with Jim. It's the stuff going on down south. If we can make people and that they know that somebody knows that they arrived in the community, it's a really good thing to be doing. So
I just want to mention that, I follow the various Facebook pages for, Alora and Fergus, the community news and community shares and all of that kind of stuff. And there have been a fair amount of people recently who have posted that they're just brand new to the community and how wonderful they think it is and how much they are enjoying being here. And the community has been really, like the community as the residents themselves have been very, very welcoming, have set up a sort of oldies and newbies group that used to meet at the Goofy Newfie that obviously can't right at the moment. But I have to say the community has been really super in welcoming new people to the community.
well, it'd be great if we can keep that rolling because that's what gives the place the heart, right? Somebody else here, and they're not adversaries anymore; they're your neighbors.
I just wanted to mention to you a couple of updates about economic development itself. I am getting inquiries about people to start, probably at least one a day, getting inquiries to people who want to start new businesses. I am funneling them through to the business center when they need to be, or providing them with the information that they need. So luckily, I think that's a good sign for the economy that there are people who are still willing to take those risks. We are still dealing at a township level, and Brett could expand if you'd like. We're still dealing with developments. We're working with two businesses right now on sort of large expansions or relocations to Center Wellington. I am getting inquiries from businesses and site selectors regarding our land that we have just purchased because people are aware of it. So all of those, I think, are positive signs right at the moment for that the economy is, people are thinking ahead now and looking forward, and there is some positive things happening with growth in the future.
Good. So, yes, Bob.
You made me think of something, and this, obviously the committee has taken a real approach on helping our current businesses in this COVID crisis, but I'm wondering for Brett and Andy and the mayor, all of the work that we did, that McSweeney did, that is that 4-year strategic plan, and how we allocate land and how we allocate priorities over the next years. I'm wondering if it's too early to tell how this is going to change, how COVID, because people have adjusted to work from home. So maybe, retail office space isn't as important, or office space isn't as important, and traditional retail is obviously struggling too in terms of plazas and malls and things. I'm just wondering, at some point in time, do we need to pivot or think about it within economic development for our long-term vision? And it's maybe obviously not on this meeting, but I'm just thinking back to that McSweeney strategy that we all sort of got behind, and it really focused us on the right things.
Just to that, I just wanted to mention that I have been doing a lot of reading about sort of what's happening with the manufacturing sector, et cetera. And a lot of businesses are now, because of the uncertainty they had in their supply chain, are really now looking to have those suppliers a lot closer to them than they were willing to accept before. So that, I think, is an opportunity for us now that we have purchased the land that they're just to see some maybe faster development of that property than we had originally planned for.
Yeah, I just want to throw in there, I was gonna, a couple of people ago, is there a plan, is there a timetable for servicing that, Andy and you guys? Servicing it, and the question would be is could we put in like a third of the road or something, just to open up some more lots so that if somebody comes along, we've got stuff almost shovel ready to go? Because people moving, I think businesses moving plants back here or facilities back here, they're going to want to do it and get at it. So, I don't know. Yeah.
Sorry,
and,
it is something that has been put on a little bit of a back burner just with everything else we're trying to deal with. But it is something that we have looked at. How do we bring in a very early phase of it? So we've talked about possibly looking at 3 phases. So a very short, kind of that first stub in with a cul-de-sac, and then bringing in the second part. But we've got a number of other studies from archaeological to servicing and things of that nature that we're trying to get underway, including a final survey of the property. We just received all the legal documentation, deeding and all that back about a month and a half ago to finalize the legal situation. So we've also been talking to the farmer who has a crop on it right now. So we've told him it's just a hay crop that he can take his end of June and kind of the 2020 crops off, but that we would probably be looking at getting into the ground. And we were hoping later this year, but we anticipate now with everything, it'll probably be early next year before we get ready for servicing.
Well, I think that's good. It's just, I know we've all been sidetracked by this, you know, to say the least. But it was just one of those, you know, it's our job here to try to keep looking down the road to, you know, okay, so what's next? And then what's after that? You know, so.
Well, Don, just to your point, as one of the things we do have on our plate to look at is a land strategy. So I think to Bob's point, that's where I think, and to what Pat was talking about, there's the opportunity for us to really say, let's put some thought into that. And as things are now changing, what is that land strategy look at of how we want to market and look at development of that property?
Well, can we maybe put that as an item on our next meeting? Because I think we do have to try to look out past what's going on now. Hopefully, things will get better for all of us. And I pray that those scientists work hard and get us a vaccine or something that's going to let us get back to life again. You know, so. Okay, I think we're hitting pretty much the time here. Has anybody got anything else that we can?
I was just going to mention that moving forward, probably won't hold unless necessary this committee during the summer, unless we need them to endorse something. But the recovery subcommittee is going to continue its work weekly as we have been doing. So.
One other thing is we have, Neil's a member as well of Rotary. We've actually been asked to go for next Tuesday as well, just any other questions that some of the Rotarians have been asking, and we can pass on some of the stuff that's going on here that we've talked about today, just so we can actually get some of this stuff done, right? So, okay, anybody else got anything?
The only thing I wondered about was, it's kind of sad, but the work that everyone across the whole community has done to get ready for our brand new hospital. And my understanding is it's going to open on the 9th of August. And that's a great success story after 20 years of work by a lot of people. And I know we can't sort of have the traditional celebrations, but I don't know if there's things that we can do for an economic development. Or if that's just put off till post-COVID.
So do you want me to get a hold of Lori and see if there's anything we can do? She would be probably the person that might know that.
Yeah. I just know that they're not going to be able to have the normal celebrations and
I know.
Picture taking and group meetings and things, but it's
I think they've canceled the tours. They were going to give tours to donors and stuff, so all that's off. I know they have a virtual tour they're working on, so they can at least put an online thing up and people can get a look at the inside of the hospital and stuff like that. But it's a little bit disheartening, Bob, that after all this work, like this was approved in 2010.
Yeah.
And here we are in 2020 and it's finally here and we can't even go have a barbecue in the parking lot.
But you know what, guys? Lucky us.
Yeah, we're blessed because there are communities that need it that aren't going to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the other thing I was wondering about is how do we put something about the new hospital on our website or on economic development? Because it is one of the things that people look at in terms of quality health care before they make a decision to move their business or move personally to a community. So the fact that we've got this new state-of-the-art hospital coming, is there anything we should be doing as to leverage it as an economic driver or even a communication tool for us as the municipality?
Yeah, I
Just
guess.
to that, I do always include the hospital. First of all, the fact that we have one, in fact, that we have a new one. And that was a significant amount of investment that the province made into Center Wellington and our viability and ability to grow. So I always include that in information that I sent out to businesses. It was one of the things that I have talked to Loblaws about. I mean, their situation has changed as well.
Yeah.
So I do always include that information.
Okay, thanks. I didn't realize that.
Good. Okay, well, I guess we'll see some of you next week, Pat. Are we going to do Thursday again? Oh, you're muted, yeah.
Yes, for the economic recovery subcommittee, yes, we will be meeting again next week.
I hope is it 8 o'clock again?
No.
No, it's 9.
9 o'clock.
Oh.
Let me be clear, it's 9.
Yeah, exactly. Anyhow, thanks everybody. Let's keep at her.
Thanks, Don. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good
Thanks, everyone.